You're in big trouble, though, pal. I eat pieces of shit like me for breakfast.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
No.
Welcome back to another episode of Breakfast of Champions. This is Season 1, Episode 6. This is our first remote location. We've only ever been in the practice space, so I'm very excited. I'm your co-host, Renee Floyd, and I'm going to throw it to my other co-host and best friend, Parker.
Hello. Good morning. Yeah, big time. We're getting out of the practice space. We're seeing the world. We're here. We're here with Kevan O'Malley, and we're at the Fort Worth Float Company. If you want to say hi to everybody, Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevan O'Malley.
Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for having us here. This is a beautiful place. I've never been here before.
I'm very excited to be on the podcast and be the new co-host. Thanks.
He's coming for my job.
I'm down for that. We could always add a third.
3 co-hosts now.
Yes.
All right. I've eaten a lot of breakfast food with Kevin, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. And he's also rained down violence on me as well.
Thank you for joining us. If you've never joined us before, this podcast is about breakfast foods and violence. You can find us anywhere that you find regular podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, anything like that. If you've got a comment for us, please give us a phone call at 682-294-0101. A hockey episode dropped today, and if you listen to the very beginning of the episode, you will hear a special review from a very special guest. So if you have a review for us, if you'd like to tell us where we need to eat breakfast or have any ideas for us, once again, that phone number is 682-294-0101. We'd love to hear from you. All
right, you want to jump into our breakfast food of the day?
Sure. Looks very good. What do we got here, Parker?
So this was suggested by hopefully a soon-to-be caller named the Baja Blaster.
Oh.
He found me in the real world to tell me that we should do Taco Bell breakfast, which I've never had Taco Bell breakfast.
Nor I.
What about you, Kevin? You had Taco Bell?
I've had Taco Cabana, but not Taco Bell.
Okay. Well, so I stopped this morning and I got us some Crunchwrap, breakfast Crunchwraps with sausage, egg, and potato. It's like a hash brown patty in there. And it looks pretty delicious. So we're going to check that out today. We might do a continuing series on Taco Bell breakfast if this impresses us. And, and so we've been doing donut holes, but since we, are living moss, we're going to go with the Bell scale. So we'll do 1 through 6 rating this. And it'll be on things like taste, freshness, because it's Taco Bell, value, and like, would you go back and get this? Like, does it stand up to like a McGriddle? Something like that.
So are you, how do the vegans get down with the Taco Bell? I know that there's a few items there. But.
Yeah. Taco Bell is a lifesaver when you are a vegan on tour or traveling.
I wanted to mention that because I knew it is. Sometimes it's hard to find places. But.
Yeah. Kevin, you are a former vegan. Did you eat a lot of Taco Bell when you were vegan?
No, I never really did. Also being kind of a picky eater, I never ate out a whole lot. Just made my own bullshit at home.
That makes sense.
That's always the way to go.
But yeah, I'd get my go-to cheesy bean and rice, 86 the cheese, add potatoes to it. That I add potatoes to everything on the Taco Bell menu.
What a good secret. I don't think I've ever added potatoes to anything at Taco Bell.
Now they've got black beans, so I'll do like a black bean chalupa, supreme, no sour cream, no cheese, and then add potatoes, sometimes rice to it.
Dang.
Yeah.
So Taco Bell is normally like drunk food. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I guilty pleasure it sometimes, and I'm also not a big drinker. So yeah, I'm not like hitting the bell at 2 or 3 in the morning because I'm usually asleep and not drunk. But I love Taco Bell. I've loved it since I was a kid. I'm excited to try it. I'm glad that you brought this up, and I'm glad that the what was his name?
The Baja Blaster.
The Baja
He needs
Blaster.
to give us a call when he hears this.
Man, we've got such a cool cast of characters that are coming together. If you heard the episode today, we got Muncho Maniac calling in. We've got the Baja Blaster giving us suggestions, and I've heard there's somebody named Gene or something like that.
Yeah, we'll see how this.
I don't want to talk about Gene.
Oh, okay.
We'll get into
No
Gene
Gene
later,
talk.
but
All right.
yeah. So,
Who wants to go first? You want to Rochambeau it or?
ooh, I don't know, Kevin. You're the picky eater. I want your.
All right, Kevin's going to go first. I'm going to describe what he's eating as he's eating it. So we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-sided. What is that? A sextagonal tortilla that looks like it is stuffed full of breakfast foods.
What do you think its defense budget is? Sorry,
Oh man,
we won't go there.
no
but-
plain parts in this place. So yeah. So it was grilled. There's a nice browning on the outside. It's warm. It's thick. I'd say it's probably about 1.5 inches thick. It is probably about the size of a palm of the hand, so it's a good portion. It's not too small, not too big. You're not, usual typical American size. I was expecting this to be quite huge.
Kevin, you're a few bites in.
Initial
How you
thoughts,
feeling?
Kev?
It's pretty good. I like it. It's Taco Bell food, and there's some orange stuff in here. I'm not really sure what that is.
Oh, it's probably like a spicy sauce of some sort, like a spicy mayonnaise or ranch, maybe.
Kewpie mayo.
It's a little spicy.
Well, Parker just took his bite, and I'm dipping mine in some fire sauce. We've got an assortment of sauces here. I've never seen this avocado verde salsa packet that looks like it's...
Yeah,
Oh.
it's see-through. It's not like the normal ones. Like you can actually see what's in there.
You can see right through that package.
Yeah.
Wow, that actually looks nice. Okay, and then we've also got...
Breakfast salsa.
Oh, I didn't even know they had a breakfast salsa.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's more of like a picante.
Probably.
But yeah, here we go again is what's on mine.
Mine says, I'm just getting started. Speaking of which, I'm going to take a quick bite.
Awesome. So yeah, it feels like a lower tier, like Whataburger to keto, like the potatoes, egg and cheese or sausage, egg and cheese to keto from Whataburger, but just wrapped in a creative manner. And they looks like they do the egg and the sausage patty and then the hash brown patty. I would reverse that if we're doing a crunch wrap, like you always have the like the crispy part in the middle. I would totally put the potatoes in between the eggs and the sausage if it were me.
I agree.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of crunch so far in mine.
Yeah, they lied about that crunch part. I think it could be a little bit crunchier.
Granted, I did pick these up like 45 minutes ago, so
No.
they might be a little bit crunchier fresh.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at that sausage. It's quite great. It's quite great looking.
The sausage is not appetizing to look at.
Yeah. Taco Bell, I wonder what else you have on your menu, because this is okay, but I think I'd like to see what else you have on your menu. I agree that sauce is a little bit spicy
Yeah.
and very orangey. It reminds me of, like you said, Kewpie mayo or something like that. It's okay. I was expecting more from you, Taco Bell.
All right, Kevin, how many again, our grading scale is 1 out of 6 bells. 6 is like, this is great, I'm going to eat it every morning. 1 is, I will probably never eat this again. Going on taste, freshness, value.
This one in particular, I probably would give it a 3. Again, I'm kind of a picky eater and don't really like sauces or mayo, especially.
What about ketchup? If I put some ketchup on it, would it make it better?
What about you shut up? Yeah, I also do not eat tomatoes in any form, just so everybody knows and understands that, and don't talk to me about it. But this, if it was a little fresher and didn't have the mayo, it'd be a good thing to get, if I'm hungry or just don't have a whole lot of time to pick up something better. So I would get it again under those circumstances.
Okay, well, that's fair.
We got 3 bells there.
Yeah, I was thinking 2.5 or 3 bells. As far as value goes, like it's a pretty hearty thing. I think just eating this and like I'd be set. I wouldn't need something else. Taste, it's not the best. You can tell like they didn't go for the greatest ingredients. They did advertise all over the menu that it's cage-free eggs.
That's very interesting,
Yeah.
considering.
So, exactly. The sausage, looks like it was, who knows what that is. And value, yeah. If there wasn't a better option, I was in the middle of nowhere and I was wanting some breakfast, and I needed to rip it and grip it, this would be the one.
So you said 2.5 or 3? Let's be definitive on this.
Let's go 2.5.
Okay.
I'm not going out of my way to get this again, but if I'm in the middle of nowhere, it'll do.
I'm gonna go 2. I didn't enjoy this at all. Probably, like you said, it probably would be better a little bit fresh off the griddle. But I see something like this and how simple the ingredients are, and I think, how can you mess it up? Because you can make something like this at home and just do a little bit better job, in my opinion. Like Kevin said, you want to make it yourself. You don't want to mix. You don't want to grab something like this on the go and be like, "This is gourmet." But
I will say I do like the simple thing, so it had that going for it. It's not too complicated.
Yeah, I think if you left the mayo off and let us decide what sauce we want on it, I think we could probably kick it up a notch. I think the forcing of the sauce is not a good thing.
No, I completely agree. I also wonder if maybe the bacon version is better, or just a potato, egg, and cheese one would be better. Because the sausage is the part that I'm... Yeah.
Much like Shipley's, we might have to give this a second run.
Yeah. Well, they've got a big breakfast menu, so I know we're a little donuted out here for taking a break, so maybe we'll T-bell it.
So we've got 2, 2.5, and 3. I think that makes the average 2.5.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So Taco Bell, Baja Blaster, 2.5 out of 6 on the scale. 6 bells. Dong.
I did buy a Baja Blast for Kevin to enjoy while he eats this.
I am enjoying this Baja Blast.
If you're not
six bells on the Baja Blast.
If you're not blasting, you're not living moss.
There's no sugar too. I like that.
Nice.
I am not a full sugar guy. All right. Well, I think case closed on our first Taco Bell breakfast. We'll have to revisit in future episodes on some of their other items.
We might have to remote Taco Bell breakfast that.
Ooh. Yeah, we could go to the 2-story Taco Bell that doesn't actually have an open 2-story.
What if we kissed on the second story of the Taco Bell?
I have a feeling it's just storage, right?
Yeah.
I bet people have definitely kissed in that Taco Bell storage room.
So speaking of that, I don't know if you saw this week or last week, I think it was, there's a lady that worked at a grocery store, and they had one of those second story, like fake living room type situations, and she lived there successfully for over a year.
Squatters' rights.
Yeah, until some electricians were coming to fix a sign, and they saw a long extension cord running up there, and they found her little apartment up there.
That sounds a lot like the room in a house I used to live in, which is where I met Kevan O'Malley.
Perfect segue.
Yeah, you set that up and you had no idea.
I didn't.
I was basically squatting in a room in this house, and I ran an extension cord from the attic into my room to run all of my electronics. And that house was called the Wolf Den, and that is where I met Kevin, because a bunch of my friends lived there before I moved in. I think Kevin moved out right before I moved in. We never lived there at the same time.
Another house I lived in, I met another one of my best friends there who is living in a hallway under some stairs. So I met 2 really good friends squatting in my houses.
That's amazing. You never know what you're going to find squatting, or
Yeah,
in a squatter, you could find a best friend.
exactly.
There's so many negative stories about squatters these days. We're here to bring the light and levity to squatter stories. You could find a best friend. You could find a rolling partner. You could find a breakfast of champion in a squatter. It just takes a little bit of time and patience, I think.
Yeah, I also paid my dues, and I had scabies, so it was legit.
Wow.
Didn't we call that attic Hoogie Boogie Land?
We did call it Hoogie Boogie Land, and I found Jeremy's childhood Star Wars collection in there one time.
I had no idea about this.
Yeah, it was when Jeremy and I lived there together. But yeah, so we'll go back to Wolf Den, and Jeremy.
This place sounds magical.
It was definitely there's a lot of good memories tied to there. But yeah, so I met you there because a bunch of my friends lived in that house, and you were the guy with the wrestling mats in the back room. That's how I met you. So I knew violence from first moment. But really, I think our true origin story is I used to do these VHS screenings with one of my buddies that lived with Kevin. and we did a veggie dog eating contest at this place called 1919 before one of our screenings. And I was like preparing for this. I was so ready. And Kevin shows up like literally right before we're about to start, sits down across the table from me, and just starts housing veggie dogs. We got 10 minutes to eat as many veggie dogs as possible. And like me and his friend like made a like trophy for the winner. It was super cool. I was super excited to grab it. And Kevin sitting across from me just making intense eye contact the whole time, just fucking deep throating veggie glizzies, just one after the other like a fucking machine, not blinking, like peering into my soul. And I get to, I think, number 9, and I start gagging, and I throw it up. And we've got like 30 seconds left. Kevin finishes his 9th hot dog, gets his 10th, and I believe you finished your 10th hot dog as the timer went off.
I think so. It's been a while, but...
Yeah, and you grab your trophy, you grab a hot dog for the road, and you hop on your bike, and you take off into the sunset. You don't stick around for the movie screening. You just collect your prize, hop on your bike, hot dog for the road after eating 10 hot dogs in 10 minutes, and then you're off again into the sunset. And I was like, who the fuck was that guy? I knew who you were, but we were not friends until that moment, and I was terrified of you and knew that we needed to become friends.
You didn't really know me until that happened.
Exactly.
Were you squatting while this happened, or this is before this?
No, this, I think I was living in Haltom City at the time that this happened. I was not, again, I had a bunch of friends who lived in the house with Kevin, so
I got you.
Kevin and I had met in passing, but this was our first real moment together.
Speaking of hot dog eating contests, I just, as you were talking, Joey Chestnut, who many consider the Michael Jordan of hot dog eating contests, he is being banned from this year's hot dog eating contest because he has signed, I guess, a sponsorship agreement with a vegan hot dog company.
Oh, which one?
I don't know. Let me see here.
Is it Impossible?
Yeah, it is Impossible.
Oh,
actually.
that's huge. So Impossible just released like the best vegan hot dog I've ever put in my mouth.
Yeah.
But no, jokes aside, it is delicious, and it tastes like you got it off a roller grill at like a 7-Eleven.
So they said because of his association with vegan dogs, he's no longer allowed to compete, and I think that was just an easy way to get him out of the way. I think Takahashi wants that crown back. But yeah, so he signed an agreement with Impossible this year, and Nathan's was like, see ya.
Wow.
So I thought that was very cool that you guys had a little veggie dog contest, met each other, and then just this week they ousted the Michael Jordan of hot dog eating contest just simply because he prefers a veggie dog.
Well, Kevin is the Michael Jordan of Fort Worth veggie dog eating.
That's what's up.
As far as I know, hasn't been anybody else who's done what I did.
As far as I know, too.
I also haven't paid attention.
If you've eaten 11 veggie dogs in Fort Worth, Texas, we need to hear from you.
Give us a call.
And Kevin has the right to challenge for his crown back.
Yeah, we're going to need proof if you say you did it.
That's true. Because we have many witnesses at 1919.
And there's videos floating around on the internet from 2011.
I've got a question. Do you remember what you were screening?
Yeah, it was The Wizard of Speed and Time.
Wow.
It was 1989. It's very blurry.
I love that you remember exactly what you were screening.
This was 13 years ago.
So, Kevin, did you ever watch that? Have you still not seen that movie?
Well, being that we had mutual friends and one of my roommates at the time was big into movies, I think I did see it with him.
Nice.
Yeah.
He righted his wrong.
Yeah, no. That friend, I had never heard of this movie before we screened it. And yeah, it's really cool. I want to say it was like 1989, definitely late 80s or early 90s. And it's all about this guy who's a master visual effects artist. And the guy, and he's doing all this cool stop animation stuff. And it's a cool movie. But yeah, that's what we screened after we ate hot dogs. I don't know why we chose veggie dogs for that movie, but we did a lot of cool stuff like that. Cool. Well, so that's how you and I met. And then was it after that you moved?
I moved out of that house and you moved in shortly after.
Yeah.
And when I moved out, I was moving to China because I was going to be teaching over there.
Okay. So yeah, we kind of lost touch. And then I went to take a jiu-jitsu class, and here comes Kevin walking in for the next class. I turned to the owner of the place. I was like, hey, is that Kevan O'Malley? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, so funny. me and Kevan O'Malley were eating a whole bunch of veggie dogs, and I tell him the story, and I think that now, like, it's kind of an ongoing joke, because I've met guys at training jiu-jitsu elsewhere, and I'm like, oh, hey, do you know Kevin? And they're like, oh, yeah, I know Kevin. He's got the float company, and I was like, oh, yeah, I ate hot dogs with it. And they're like, you're the hot dog dude? Oh, my God, I've heard that story. So I've met guys in 3 different jiu-jitsu gyms who have heard the hot dog story.
Yeah, that story was actually told by the coach when I got my brown belt.
That's amazing. Holy shit. I love that I'm like me
The
telling
lore
that
of the hot
story is part of you
Your
getting
brown belt?
Yeah. That
You're never going to forget it. It's always going to be associated with you too.
and it's now going to be on the internet forever.
So hot dogs and violence.
Yeah. All right.
All right. I love that.
So I'll tell my part of the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Let's
knew
hear that.
I knew that contest was happening that day, and if I'm remembering right, it was around spring break, and I was in a lifeguard class, training to be a lifeguard. And if you're familiar with Fort Worth, you know where Fairmont is. That's where we lived. So I rode my bike from there over to the LA Fitness on 7th Street, where I did all the swimming stuff I had to do, and I think I may have lifted weights too that day. Then rode my bike all the way back. And I really just wanted to eat a lot of hot dogs. And I was really, really hungry. I hadn't really thought about winning it. I just wanted to eat something. But I won, and that was it.
Yeah, you burned a lot of calories that day. God damn, that makes sense, especially if you rode your bike from West 7th over to Hemp Hill after working out and doing swimming stuff.
Yeah, it's probably 4 or 5 miles, isn't it?
Yeah.
At least.
Again, you were locked in a machine just housing hot dogs, so it makes so much more sense in that perspective.
Yeah.
All right, do we want to jump into these like icebreaker questions?
Sure. Yeah. If you'd like to, I just pulled them over just because I figured you guys would take it away with that hot dog story. But yeah, if you guys want to get into it, let's get into it. Get into it.
Cool.
So last time we had a guest, we talked about how, sometimes the icebreakers or the lightning questions or like the inside the actor's studio, the best questions kind of come with quick responses, quick fun stuff. You kind of get a gauge into somebody's personality. So these don't have to be like super ornate long answers. They're just like fun questions. If you'd like to expound on them, feel free. The first one was already asked. So Parker, why don't you take it away with the second question?
What's your typical breakfast like in the day-to-day?
Usually I don't actually eat breakfast.
All right, podcast is over. Renee doesn't eat breakfast. Kevin doesn't eat breakfast.
Sorry.
I've been eating.
leaving.
I've been eating breakfast lately.
What I do though, most mornings is I'll have coffee with MCT oil and protein powder. So I'm not
Solid.
too hungry, and most mornings I'm working out in some form or another. And that'll just hold me over until afterwards, and I can eat some real food.
I love that. MCT oil, is that coconut oil? Just concentrated form?
I think it's made from coconut oil.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to, sometimes people don't know what stuff is. And I personally, I know kind of what it is, but I didn't know is that kind of lubing up the joints for working out or kind of?
Not really. It's some healthy fats, so it helps you feel not too hungry. And from my understanding, with the caffeine from the coffee, they kind of bind together and it releases the caffeine slower. So you don't get those jitters or crash at all, more consistent throughout the day.
I like
The next
that.
few
I didn't
hours
know.
at least.
Benefits of MCT.
Medium chain triglycerides is what it stands for.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's like a more sustained release of energy. And also like if you're doing a low carb diet, if you're one of those people, your body will use that fat as energy.
Okay.
Especially if you haven't eaten overnight, it'll probably help with using it for energy besides just the caffeine. And I believe it also has some cognitive benefits. It's got like some omega-3 fatty acids and stuff in it.
Very cool. I always kind of like to dig into that sort of things. I like to give up my credibility all the time because I'm like, yeah, Joe Rogan says MCT oil, so I must know what that means. And then I hear somebody actually in real life taking it. I'm like, how does that benefit you in real life? Because like I know what the internet says or whatever, but I really kind of want to give up my credibility when it comes to anything like nutrition related because I know jack squat. Like I went vegan for 2 years and then the very next year I was just like, let's get all the meats, and then I'll eat a bag of candy at night, so
Meat party.
yeah, so I'm very interested. Kevin, do you have an all-time favorite breakfast cereal?
Probably Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah.
Especially now So now that I have kids and I can share it with them.
I love that. We have a big fat box of that in my pantry right now. I'm loving it.
This is a 2 for 2 guess going Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah, I don't think we've had another answer besides Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So
What I like is when you find the good piece and then you flip it over and it's got all the sugar and cinnamon on that side.
Oof, that is the best.
I just thought about this. What if we made Cinnamon Toast Crunch crispy bars? Like instead of Rice Krispie treats, we use Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yes.
Let's do that.
I saw a pancake mix the other day at the store, those Cinnamon Toast Crunch pancakes. Yeah.
Is it just like the sugar cinnamon at the bottom mixed in with
I think it might have
pancake
had
mix?
like actual pieces of cereal
okay.
in the mix. I don't know. If I were to make it, I would definitely have to add that to it. All right. Cool. Perfect fucking answer. Also, I guess that makes Cinnamon Toast Crunch the undisputed champion.
Yeah, it's the GOAT.
If you could build the perfect breakfast sandwich, what would it consist of?
Probably be pretty similar to what we had just had, but good. Like either tortilla or bread.
Okay.
You know,
Just
good
like plain white
sausage.
bread, or are you going to go with like a bagel or a bun or sourdough?
Probably not too much focus on the bread. Definitely not a
Okay.
bagel because it's
Ooh.
a little too much carbs.
Yeah, a little chewy.
Yeah. Yeah, some scrambled eggs, maybe fried, good sausage. And I like the hash browns, just a little crispier, a little more cooked.
Yeah, for sure.
Avocado too. We gotta have that on there.
Yeah, no, I mean, the times that we've eaten breakfast together, you've always gotten a breakfast burrito that was basically that exact same thing with
pretty
avocado
much.
on top and salsa to dip it in.
Love that. Do you have any breakfast guilty pleasures? Like, are you like one of those guys that like, let me go get a honey bun from 7-Eleven or something like that?
I've been eating a little more donuts lately. And that is kind of you guys' fault because listening to your review makes me want donuts now.
We apologize.
Yeah, and especially with the kids being out of school, I guess I'm going to plug this app even though they don't know about me and I don't get shit from it. But there's an app called Too Good To Go.
Dude, yes.
Yeah.
Plug away. That app rules.
Gotten a lot of cheap donuts from there. The thing is, whatever they made too much of or they're going to throw away, you buy real cheap on that app. So you can get like a dozen donuts for $6 or whatever.
I got Tiff's Treats last week from there. I got
too.
$5.99 and they just loaded up this bag. I think they gave me like 2 dozen cookies and then like
That's awesome.
corner of this like brownie brittle
They're
brookie thing. I don't know.
Good for them. Good.
Yeah, Too Good To Go is a great app. If you don't have that, download it. It'll show you in your area via location-based services, kind of the restaurants that are trying to do better by getting some of their food waste to you at a cheaper price. So that's cool that you do that. I've seen a couple of different places. I know for sure Shipley's is one of them that participates in Too Good To Go. Doughboy Donuts actually does Too Good To Go if you're into fancy donuts. I've had Doughboy a couple of times, and he's down in Burleson now, right? I think.
I believe so.
Yeah. He started off in Fort Worth, but Too Good To Go is a great place. Great answer. Guilty pleasure donuts. Don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Be empowered.
It's got the hole in the middle, so there's less guilt. If it didn't have that hole, you could feel guilty.
good point.
What's your favorite fast food breakfast? I know it's obviously not Taco Bell today.
Used to, at a school I worked at, there was a Taco Cabana on the way. So I'd stop there and usually get 2 burritos, just egg and potato.
Awesome.
Those are pretty good in the morning.
Taco Cabana has some of the best tortillas in the world, I think.
I think Rose's has better.
Oh, yeah, they're comparable, but I agree. Rose's is better quality, I think, wise, but I think just the smell of Taco Cabana's tortillas kind of transports me to a more nostalgic place than Rose's.
I get that.
Do you have a favorite, maybe like chain breakfast restaurant, like IHOP, Waffle House, or maybe even a cool local mom and pop spot you want to like let us in on?
That would definitely be Old South.
Old
Shout out.
South.
I've been going there since I was a kid, and I remember my dad took me there before school sometimes, and back then there was a bowling alley next door. So when we had enough time, we'd go eat breakfast there and then go bowl before school.
That's
That's
an
amazing.
awesome memory. Cool. Is turkey bacon trash or delicious?
Trash.
Hell yes.
Throw that shit
It's not
away.
bacon, it's just turkey strips.
It's faking. Do you consider oatmeal peasant food?
I haven't eaten oatmeal in a while, but I like it. You put a bunch of stuff in there, you can make it really good.
I love just a plain oatmeal. Just a little bit of salt and water and oats. That's it.
Hope you take a nice poop either way.
Exactly.
Had some overnight oats this past week. HEB's got some prepared ones. I think they're like $3, and they come with overnight oats and some almonds, and you can choose either strawberries or blueberries with them. They're pretty good.
Awesome. All right. What is your favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movie?
Definitely Bloodsport.
Yes.
Yep.
2 for 2.
I watched that with my kids recently, and they both enjoyed it.
I love
It's
that.
about time they saw it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
They're the
Bloodsport.
perfect ages for that, too.
Do you have a worst injury that you've ever had, whether training for a fight, maybe a professional fight, or even a street fight? Did you get injured at all? Or
As long as I've been doing this, I've been lucky to not have many injuries. Really only 2, and the worst of the 2 was a separated shoulder. I was at a judo tournament, and I just got thrown right on the point of my shoulder, and not dislocated, but separated.
Ooh.
do you still feel remnants of that?
There's definitely a lack of mobility, but it's not painful at all anymore.
That's good. Cool. What is your favorite fighting arcade game?
Arcade, probably Mortal Kombat 2.
Yes.
I have a good memory of, there was a place next to Wet n Wild when it was called Wet n Wild. I don't remember the name of it, but they had a bunch of other like rides and big arcade. And I saw, like right after Mortal Kombat 2 came out, a bunch of people crowded around watching these 2 people play who knew all the fatalities. So that kind of imprinted on my mind because of that.
It's like that movie The Wizard with Mario 3. Kind of like
Right.
that, but Mortal Kombat 2. Oh man, what a time to be alive to like see that, like everybody ganging up to watch like 2 guys go at it on Mortal Kombat. Oh,
The Wizard's a good call. Jenny Lewis is in that movie.
yeah, she is.
Shout out. Were you a professional wrestling fan?
Yes, it was.
What was your favorite wrestler or era or event, maybe?
Hulk Hogan was pretty much my hero growing up.
Hulkster.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, I was in the era of Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Undertaker, Roddy Piper, Andre the Giant, which probably just because I was in it, I think that's the best era of WWE, WWF wrestling.
Me too.
Showtime. That was a great era for sure. I'm always remembered anytime someone brings up Hulk Hogan, they just that clip of Booker T accidentally saying the N-word. It was like, Hulk Hogan, I'm coming for you.
Oh.
And then the lady's like, it's okay, baby. Yeah, I love that answer. Great.
Ultimate Warrior is definitely my favorite wrestler, maybe of all time.
I'm a Muncho Maniac fan.
Macho
Macho Man
Maniac.
too, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thoughts on trash talking while fighting? Are there any rules when it comes to that? As far as sportsmanship and respect goes?
We're talking about like professional fighting or street fighting or what?
I would say professional fighting. There's no rules in street fighting, obviously.
So is this in the match or before the match? Press conferences.
We can go both. Like, let's say you're doing a jiu-jitsu match, and are you guys in each other's ear, like talking shit to each other while you're rolling around?
I think, either one before or during a match, it can be a valid strategy for getting in the other guy's head and just distracting them. I wouldn't myself because I'm probably just going to be too focused on the match. Unless it's too
You've
easy.
whispered some pretty heinous things in my ear while you've been choking me out.
Yeah, but that's you in this training. But, if it's an easy enough match in a real competition, I might just have the mental capacity to do that.
Okay.
Not that I would, because I don't know how necessary it is and just not how I am personally. But I don't think it's wrong or bad or anything.
Okay.
We always kind of give the caveat on this one. The thought on that is just kind of like the Ryan Garcia lead up to that, as far as like, and also just like wives and kids and that sort of thing. Like we kind of I had a theory that, if you've got wives and kids, you kind of stay away from that sort of thing. But if you don't have that, you kind of lean into that sort of thing as a way to kind of get into somebody's head.
As a subject matter, or just if you have those, you don't do it.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see here. What is your favorite movie, show, or anime training montage? So we always kind of give examples. Easy one is Rocky running up the stairs, or
Yeah, that was a good one. Not really a fighting movie, but I think one of the best training montages is from Hot Rod.
Ooh, yes. Classic. I
Great
love hot
answer.
rod. Yeah.
I was not expecting that. Great answer.
That was a great answer. So you've had a couple of fights. Did you have a walk-on song when you had your fights?
Yeah, I've done 2 professional jiu-jitsu matches, which both went terribly for me. But for the walk-on song, the first one, I had a friend of mine who was a musician. I think he still is at the time. He paid me to have one of his songs play.
Nice.
And then the second one, I had the Imperial March play.
Yes.
I'd be scared shitless if somebody came out to the Imperial March, because I'm like Back in Black or like something crazy rock and roll, and then all of a sudden you're dun 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 dun.
Yeah, the guy who beat me pretty fast, he complimented me on it.
That's all. Like at least he recognized that. Like
Yeah.
And then finally, let's see here. Do you have maybe a favorite fighter that has a walk-on song that you really like, or just like maybe your favorite walkout song that you can remember?
No, I really don't watch much MMA, so I couldn't answer that.
Okay,
I
no
really
problem.
don't know
what
any.
about professional wrestler?
It's been so long since I really watched any matches besides the recent WrestleMania, so I couldn't say any songs that they had playing.
Cool. Well, that has been our lightning round / icebreaker questions. So I guess we'll just kind of like get into talking with you and hearing all about you. So tell us a little bit about, like, did you play sports growing up? Kind of like your introduction to like martial arts.
So I know I played at least one season of soccer. I didn't really like it, but being as a kid, I was real into professional wrestling, and I think that is why my parents put me in judo when I was pretty young, probably 7 or 8 years old. And we also had a few kids and friends in the neighborhood who were doing it.
Okay.
So yeah, that got me into judo, and then I did it for probably 4 or 5 years before I just kind of got to be a fat, lazy teenager. Stopped for a while, and then got back into it in college.
Okay. Was that here in Fort Worth that you started training judo?
Yeah, Fort Worth Judo.
And that was it in the same location it's still in, or
They've been in a few locations since then. This, at the time, was at the, I don't know if it's still there anymore, but Fit for Life on Bryan Irvin.
okay.
Well, they just had a room there, and then they've moved several times in between then and their current location.
Okay. Cool.
Were there many judo schools growing up around here? Because I'm not from around here.
There was Fort Worth Judo, and then I think a couple in the mid-cities, like Hearst or Bedford.
I always kind of wonder about that sort of thing, just because it's so prevalent now. You throw a rock and see somebody's MMA gym. But back when we were growing up, I was just reminded of this. We were talking movies. Say Anything. You remember that movie?
Yeah, I do.
How big John Cusack was into kickboxing in that movie, and how that was such kind of his jam. And I was just thinking about that in the 80s, how like that was the trope of like thinking this guy was like not serious or crazy because he was into kickboxing or martial arts or whatever. But like, yeah, growing up, I was just always wonder about access to schools.
Yeah. I feel like Taekwondo was huge growing up. Like 80s and 90s, Taekwondo was everywhere.
Yeah, Taekwondo and karate.
Yeah.
And there's still not a whole lot of judo schools for a variety of reasons, but jiu-jitsu is everywhere.
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu is blowing up. So
Judo's mainly Brazil and Russia, yeah? Like as far as like concentrated international like powerhouses.
Yeah, Russia's very good, Brazil too, Japan, of course, and South Korea is also very strong.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
So you got back into judo in college, and I guess you took it pretty seriously because you are a black belt in judo, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I am.
So how long did it take you from when you got back into judo until you got your black belt?
I think it was like 4.5 or 5 years, and I think now it might take people a little bit longer, but at the time I was completely obsessed with it. You know, there was a time when I was training 6 days a week, so it could have been a little accelerated for me compared to other people.
Okay. How many hours a day were you training during that period?
For practice, probably an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then running and weightlifting outside of that.
You're dedicated.
I had big dreams that, of course, didn't happen, of going to the Olympics or at least doing something bigger with it.
Yeah, that would have been awesome if you would have made the Olympics. Did you do any like judo competitions?
I was competing constantly during that time.
What was your record, if you remember?
I don't remember. I'd win some matches in local tournaments. Nothing very big or as big as I wanted.
Okay.
But I won one or two matches at what's called a E-level tournament, which you can get national rankings for. And, there's like E, D, C, B, A. A is like the biggest international tournaments.
Okay.
But it was still bigger than the local non-points tournaments, so I felt pretty good about winning one or two there.
That's awesome.
Did you get to travel at all doing judo?
Yeah, went to a few camps around the country and several trips to Japan to train.
That's amazing. I love Japan. I've been once.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's my favorite place.
I've never been. I want to go so bad.
That's so cool. So you said you had traveled a little bit, done some judo. At the same time, were you also training anything else, or were you just solely focused and obsessed with judo?
Yeah, just judo.
Yeah.
And so you got your black belt. About what year did you get your black belt?
That was 2006.
Okay, wow. So when I met you, you'd had a black belt for a couple years at that point.
Yeah, I've had.
I mean, again, like I said at the beginning, when I first met you, you were the guy who lived in like the back room with the wrestling mats on the floor. Like, hey, you want to go let Kevin throw you around his room? Like the lore around you before I got to know you, I mean, it's even better now. But at that point, you were a very mysterious guy with the wrestling mats that would throw you across the room because you were a black belt.
Yeah, this house we lived in, I kind of had the back section, and it used to be a duplex. So, like, the main room I turned into the little dojo, and then there was a kitchen to the side of it that I turned into my bedroom.
Gotta get those throws in. So, about 2006, what year did you start getting into jiu-jitsu?
I've been doing it a little bit at that same time to just supplement judo, but I really got serious with it in 2012 when we moved back here. But I was doing it a little bit when I lived in Beijing and Shanghai.
What's the jiu-jitsu scene like over there?
It was pretty big. In Beijing, it was pretty much all Chinese residents. And then Shanghai being more international, there were a lot of foreigners at the trainings there.
Very cool.
But at the time, this was also 12 years ago, I think there was none of the instructors where I went were black belts yet. They're all just brown belts. But of course, I'm sure they've got tons of black belts now and bigger instructors.
Okay. That's really cool. Awesome. So that was like 2010, 2011 when you were training over there?
I moved there in, I think, 2012 and came back in 2013.
So 2012, start getting into jiu-jitsu. And then you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu now, correct?
Yes, I am.
And when did you get your black belt?
That was just about 3 years ago now.
Okay, so like 2021. And where did you get your black belt from in jiu-jitsu?
I got that from a gym called Zombie Crew, which unfortunately is no longer open, but the instructor was George Perez, and he's still around, still friends.
That's awesome. Yeah, that place was really cool. They did a lot of cool stuff.
Do you train now?
I do more judo this summer.
Oh.
Especially because taking my kid here, Calvin.
Say hi, Calvin.
But a couple times a week, I'll just go to my friend's gym early in the mornings. We'll get a bunch of rounds in.
I love that.
Heck yeah. Man, getting judo thrown, especially when you're doing jiu-jitsu, is like the most jarring thing. One of my least favorite things is getting thrown across the mat in a judo form. So the fact that you train that regularly.
Yeah, it's hard on the body, and not doing it for a while, being more focused on jiu-jitsu, I kind of fell out of practice. But since we've been doing more judo again, my body's kind of adapting back to it. So just kind of have to keep up with it and not fall out of it.
Awesome. What for both jiu-jitsu and judo, what's been like the hardest part for either one of those for you?
As far as what?
Just like getting your black belts in there. Like besides like the repetitions and the time, was there anything else that you found like exceptionally challenging during your training?
I'll probably differ from a lot of people from this. Whenever you can see those black belt speeches or posts, they always talk about the blood, sweat, and tears of it all. But I just thought it was always fun all the time. You'll get little injuries here and there, and there may be frustrating competitions, but the fun and benefit it all outweighs the bad stuff so much. So
I love that.
it's just time and doing it is the hardest part, but I don't think that's hard because it's fun.
Do you think that there's any, excuse me, do you think that there's any professionals that you like look up to as far as like judo is concerned, or even in jiu-jitsu, that you saw that you kind of wanted to model like maybe some training styles after?
Yeah, some similar body types and guys who I just liked a lot, which I haven't watched much professional judo in a while, but one of my favorites was Kosei Inouye.
Okay.
He's got a throw called Uchimata, which is like one of the coolest throws to see and do. And he was just an expert at that, beating other world level people with it, like at Olympics and world championships. He's since retired because it's been a while since then. But jiu-jitsu, for technique and also just presence and personality, one of my favorites is Craig Jones.
Okay.
He's got a similar body type to me, and he's just funny as hell, so I like that.
I love that. Yeah. I always wonder, like you said, who do you see yourself kind of similar to? I think as dudes, we tend to do that. Like we see like
Right.
who we match up with, or who would be kind of in our weight class, I think. And so we always kind of have that in the back of our mind, even though we're not anywhere close to professional level.
Right.
We always think like, who would you fight? You know?
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there, I'm going to kind of move on to some other aspects, but is there any judo or jiu-jitsu stuff locally or anything you want to plug? I'm going to kind of get into some other aspects of your life here in just a minute.
Fort Worth Judo, I've been there since I was a kid, and I'm getting back into it consistently now. And also, I train at my friend's gym, One Dojo. They have a really good homeschool program.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Also really just good and teachers and instructors. It's my friend Wes and his wife Belle.
Yeah, if you're in Fort Worth, definitely check them out, the Fort Worth area.
If you need any sort of judo training, take Kevin's advice. He is a black belt. He's been doing it for quite some time. So if you're in the Fort Worth area, look up Fort Worth Judo and see if you can get a class in. See if it's up your alley.
Yeah, and the head instructor, Tommy Dyer, who's an Olympic alternate, I think in the 88 Olympics. So he's about as good as you can find around here.
Wow. That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
don't think you're going to find better. So Fort Worth Judo, shout out to them. And then you said One
One
Dojo.
Dojo.
Okay.
Shout out One Dojo. You've told me a little bit about them, and they have a really cool program. Everybody should go look them up on social media.
Yeah, and it's not just jiu-jitsu. They've also got like movement therapy and dance classes. And Belle, who I think she's now working on her PhD in education, she does a lot for kids with sensory issues or just having trouble like moving and things like that, which she's had a lot of good success with her programs.
Yeah, they offer a really cool, much needed like training facility in Fort Worth that not a lot of places are going to cater to and have the dynamic that they have.
Right.
That's amazing. I have not heard of that. I'm going to look them up and give them a follow on socials if I can.
Awesome.
You said movement and that sort of thing. I see here that you are kettlebell, mace, battle rope Onnit certified. Is that correct?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of fitness work and went to Onnit several times for a lot of their certifications.
That's down in Austin. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. How are those facilities?
They've got an incredible gym there. They've got the gym part, just, they got members working out, and also like the back part, which is where they do all the classes and education things. So it's a pretty incredible facility.
That's cool. I've always kind of wanted to go and give that place a once over myself, just because, you hear about it all the time from different athletes and podcasts and that sort of thing. So to know somebody that's actually been there is very cool. I'm quite jealous. So
Yeah, definitely recommend it.
And so which certifications do you have? Because you and I, we used to do like a weekly, I say you and I just attended. You're the one who was doing everything. But weekly like kettlebell and mace and battle rope workout in the park. And I know you and I believe your wife are both certified, correct?
Yeah, I've done the kettlebells, battle ropes, steel mace, steel clubs, and the foundations, which is like the basics of all the other tools they use. And then me and my wife did the steel mace certification with me.
Awesome. And if anyone listening to this is not familiar, like kettlebells are a pretty like household name at this point. I think steel maces are getting more popular. They're definitely more popular now than they were when I got into them like 12 years ago. But it's literally just like a ball on the end of a pole that you swing around, and it is just a great workout, and you can get different sizes. And yeah, Kevin showed me like how to properly swing a mace around. I'd had one for years, and he corrected my form, and yeah, it was awesome. Battle ropes, if you're not familiar with those, again, it's a big rope, and there's some different exercises you can do. I was not super familiar, and again, Kevin helped me like kind of fix my form and really get the most out of using battle ropes.
That's true.
Yeah, my form was trash. Kevin,
I think that's a great thing to talk about as far as like those particular tools for getting fit is that if you don't have somebody that actually knows how to do that sort of thing, you can hurt yourself really quickly with kettlebells and mace and that sort of thing. So if you'd like to know more about that, I'm sure Kevin can help you out with that. Kettlebell, mace, battle rope, anything like that.
Sure. I don't really teach any fitness classes anymore, but I'm always happy to help or answer questions however I can.
I'm constantly texting Kevin like a video of me doing kettlebell swings. He's like, you gotta push your hips out more. You gotta do this. Like he
also put some shorts on. I don't
Take
need
your
to
pants
see
off.
that.
Yeah. No, Kevin's always like, why are you so clothed? I'm like, I'm just wearing shorts, and you're like, that's too much clothing. But no, Kevin has given me like wonderful pointers on getting better at all of that stuff. So yeah, super knowledgeable in that. And then, I guess, so along with doing the kettlebell stuff, and that's again, something that I kind of met you through. We did an Onnit trip one time to the warehouse. Like we drove down overnight to like buy some maces and kettlebells and stuff, at super discounted prices. It was awesome. But you also have the Fort Worth Float Company, which is where we are sitting right now. We've been recording this podcast live. Well, not live. You're not listening to it live, but we are live at the Fort Worth Float Company, which is Kevin's business. Tell us what the Float Company is. What do you do here?
So mainly the main service we offer is sensory deprivation tanks. I've got 3 of them and also a sauna and a cold plunge. So all are really good for physical recovery. And then the float tanks have a lot of mental benefits as well. Especially these days, we're all stressed and so busy, have too much sensory feedback all the time. And it's just an opportunity to turn your brain off for a while. Just get a serious mental and physical reset.
So, Renee, have you ever been in a
I have never been.
Okay. So I've done it quite a few times. But for Renee and for people listening who don't know what a float tank is, kind of describe like what it looks like, how it works. I mean, you don't have to pull back the curtain entirely. But just for people who may have never heard of this or have heard about it in passing from like a Simpsons episode or a Joe Rogan episode or something.
Yeah, so there are a bunch of different models of float tanks. The ones I have are all completely enclosed. I have 2 that are cabin style, which just has a higher ceiling and a little more boxier than the other, which is a pod style. And that's kind of the common idea a lot of people have when they think of float tanks. It's a little shorter, and it has a curved lid on the top, which has kind of a hatch that you open to get in and out. And then the cabins have a door to the side. So people who are maybe claustrophobic or concerned about the space, that's the better option for them. But in all of them, they have a high density of Epsom salt, and the solution is heated to about skin temperature. So the idea is once you get in and settled, you really don't feel the water anymore. And there's so much salt in the water that you really float with no effort just because it's so dense.
Yeah. And so then also like once your time goes off, you go into the dark. So it, again, sensory deprivation tank. So it is just you floating there at body temperature. So it feels like there's not even water touching your body. Your eyes are not picking up any light. You've got earplugs in while you're in the water, so you're not getting any sound. And it's the most relaxing thing you can do.
Yeah, and it is a big leap for a lot of people to turn everything off like that. So you do have some options for leaving on the lights and the music. But I really think the way to get the most out of it is just to shut everything off for an hour because, that's why you're here.
Yeah, it feels like taking like a 4 or 5 hour nap, but in an hour, and you completely lose track of time while you're in there. So an hour feels like it lasts, because you're not looking at a clock or anything. It feels like it lasts like 15 minutes. Like you're like, oh man, I'm trying to get comfortable, and then you're like, you lose yourself, and then next thing you know, the timer's going off, and it's like, oh wow, it's been an hour. It's been an hour and a half. Like that's crazy that went by so fast.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things about it is losing the sense of time too.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you got the float tanks going on here, and then you also said you've got a cold plunge and a sauna. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I've got those two in the room together. What most people do is go back and forth between the two. And
Fire and ice.
Yep. The sauna we always keep around 140, and then the cold plunge is between 40 and 45 most days. So really it's a 100-degree temperature difference between the two. And both have a lot of benefits, especially when you combine them for improving circulation and immune system, and also just mental benefits of doing something uncomfortable and something you don't want to.
Yeah, getting in that cold plunge is can be a very intense moment, or few moments, if you will.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but you feel pretty great afterwards.
Yeah, it's crazy how good you feel when you get out of that. I'm curious, so again, a big thing that we've been talking about today is your jiu-jitsu and your judo career. How can fighters, if local fighters in Fort Worth, if they're preparing for a match, how can they use these tools to help them prepare for a fight that's coming up?
Well, I do have a few UFC and MMA fighters come in, which we can talk about later. But, for the floats, that's, I think, one of the best ways to utilize it is just use it for visualization. Because you don't have any other external distractions, and you can really focus and think through strategies, positions, anything with your upcoming fights. And also there is the physical recovery benefit. Essentially you don't have any gravity on you, so your muscles and joints can really relax and decompress when you're in there. And then for the sauna and cold plunge, of course, sauna can be good for cutting weight if you need to. But also the cold plunge, and especially combining with the sauna, it does a lot for reducing inflammation and helping soreness.
Yeah.
I think the big part for me is the mental part, because I'm not a professional fighter, obviously, and I don't have any matches coming up. But I think that is something that if you're a fan of this podcast, or if you're a fan of violence or MMA or violent sports and something in general, you probably would benefit from some time with turning your brain off a little bit. And I think that is good for people that are interested in that sort of thing, as far as fighting or training. Their brains tend to be firing at all cylinders all the time. And so we tend to get in our own way sometimes. And I think for me, the mental aspect of all of this is probably the most important. Like you said, if you've got a fight coming up, great. But also if you're just a regular everyday person and you're bombarded with all of the news stories and social media and all the external input that you get from living in the real world in 2024, this is a great place to come and shut it off for a little while and kind of get some clarity as to who you are on the inside and that sort of thing. So
I think one of the real interesting things about it, and I hear a lot, is the seemingly random thoughts that come into people's minds when they're in there. It could be something you haven't thought about in years, or just some other issue that maybe needs solving, and it'll just randomly pop to the front of your brain, which there's got to be some reason for it, but I think it's pretty fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's got to be maybe your brain decluttering or something. Just
yeah.
Oh, hey, all of this noise I've been forcing into it, now it's all cleared and I can face this. That's really interesting. I've definitely had that kind of happen when I've been in there. Where
Oh, yeah.
I've had things I've been putting off that have popped up and I've had to kind of face and think about. So that's definitely a good thing. Awesome. You said that you do have some fighters who come here during their training or their recovery.
Yeah, James Vick, who former UFC fighter, he's one of my regulars, comes in almost every week for the cold plunge and the float.
And our guest last week, I believe James is training his son.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Razak Al Hassan, who's from Fort Worth or Arlington. He's got a fight coming up, and he's coming to me once a week.
Awesome.
I've seen him fight.
Yeah, he's a good one.
Yeah.
Also, Muhammad Usman. He's, I think, in Denver now, but brother of Kamaru Usman.
Yeah.
He haven't seen him in a while, but he was coming a lot when I first opened up.
That's so very cool. Those are some humongous names as far as
Yeah.
the UFC is concerned and MMA is concerned. So very cool to see them coming in to visit a homie's local place just because of how quality it is here. So
Yeah, I'm always excited to be part of their training camp and hopefully contributing to some of their success.
Love that. Cool. So yeah, we've talked about Float Company. We've talked about your jiu-jitsu and your judo and all that. Is there anything you want to say about the Float Company? Where can people find you online?
give us your website or your phone number.
Website is just the name, fortworthfloatcompany.com, and got Facebook and Instagram too, not Twitter because I didn't want to learn how to use it.
I'm in that same boat.
So if you need any sort of floating, what's the correct term? If you need some time to come float or to take a cold plunge or to take a sauna, it's fortworthfloatcompany.com. Hop on there and you'll see their hours, and you could probably book an appointment even, maybe.
Yeah, I've got links to the booking system and all the social media. And
Perfect.
Always feel free to ask me questions about it on there because I like talking about it.
Yeah, love that. Cool. Well, is there anything that I didn't go over, Renee, that you want to go over or questions
No,
I missed?
I'm just more excited to get to know Kevin personally, and hopefully, like you said, he's now a third co-host. So we'll be learning more and more about him, and obviously, you'll hear from him in future episodes. I think this will probably be maybe a once a week, or I'm sorry, a once a month check-in. We can check in with
if
Kevin.
he's the new third co-host, he'll be here once a week.
Yeah, we'll check in with Kevin maybe once a month and come get floated and check in with him and see how he's doing and see what's going on in the world of judo, jiu-jitsu, and floating.
Yeah, today I wanted to have both these guys do the cold plunge beforehand, but I had to refill it yesterday and it's still cooling down, but maybe next time.
Yeah, we'll have to come back and definitely get some content and also just to try it out and give our own reviews.
Yeah,
You've already tried it out, but
I got a Wim Hof class a couple years ago for my birthday, and that was my first cold plunge. And shortly after that, I think is when you got your cold plunge here, and so I've been a few times, and it is an intense thing. But if you have pain in any part of your body, that intense cold makes you forget anything that hurts, but it also helps with that inflammation, and you feel amazing after you get out of that.
I'm hardly ever sore anymore if I'm consistent with it. And my favorite time to do it is on my judo days, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours before. I feel like it really mentally gets me sharper and just more physical energy as well.
Yeah. So come get your cold plunge on, come get your float on. But yeah, I think that's probably start wrapping up now. We've been going for a little while.
yeah, sure.
I want to talk about fighting more.
Yeah, let's talk about it. What about fighting?
Anything.
Okay.
I'm the third co-host, but it's mostly you guys. So.
Yeah. So you said you've done 2 professional fights. Do you want to talk about those?
Well, I'd call them more semi-professional. There's 2 organizations, the bigger ones, Fight to Win and Submission Hunter Pro, where the way those works are people apply to be on it. Then if they get a match, then they'll kind of sell the tickets and get a cut of that, and maybe a little more if they win. So not completely professional, but you can make a little bit of money from it and just be on a big stage in front of everybody.
That's awesome. And when you do that, do you rep the Fort Worth Float Company on your gi or anything like that?
On the gi match I think I did have a patch, and then my other match was no gi, and I don't believe I had one on that.
Okay. Very cool.
So, do you have any fights coming up or anything like that, or any
Not really.
competitions or
I
anything?
haven't really competed in a while. Just hasn't really been a priority, especially because I have a new baby at home.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, you've been a dad. We're all dads here, but you've been a dad for quite a while, but you have a 1-month-old daughter, right?
Yep, got a 1-month-old daughter, almost a 9-year-old son, and a 14-year-old son.
Do they train at all?
The older one, he's never been too interested. The middle one, he loves it. He'll come with me to jiu-jitsu and judo.
And the 1 month old is a black belt.
I'm playing videos for her, but I don't know how much she's training.
I know, if she takes after you and your wife, she'll be strangling people in no time. Maybe by the time she's walking, she'll be throwing some rear naked chokehold.
Yep, that's the plan.
That's kind of a question I had. Speaking of, like my wife has zero interest in probably training jujitsu, but so do you guys ever roll together?
My wife does train. Hasn't for a while because of the pregnancy and everything. But
No, she must be on. No, I'm just kidding.
She's on the mats twice a day, 7 days a week, right?
She's wanted to this whole time, but I've had to stop her. But yeah, she's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu.
That's amazing. That's cool. I always think it's cool to see couples that kind of like get into the same thing and kind of roll together. The people that I have been training with out in Weatherford, Neanderthal, they are husband and wife that run that gym. And so it's always cool to see, especially with some of the newer people, he'll take his wife and be like, hey, go roll with her. And then she'll just hem you up real quick. And you're like, okay, cool. I suck at this. So
yeah, I wanted to ask about that. I heard you train there, and I've been to Neanderthal a few times.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. Yeah. I haven't been in probably like a year, but I went for probably like a year straight.
Oh, nice.
Before that. So same thing, kind of injury, kids, that whole thing. But I'd love to get back into it. We just got a book recently recommended to us, Fuel for Fighters or Food for Fighters, something like that. And so we've been talking about kind of cooking our way through that book and leaning up a little bit and kind of lifting a little bit, kind of get back into rolling and that sort of thing. So that way we're not just talking about it, we can be about it as well.
We're going to live it.
Yeah.
You live out there close to Neanderthal?
Mm-hmm. I live 5 minutes away. So, yeah. I think for the 100th episode, Parker and I are actually going to fight each other. So
that's the plan.
Can I referee?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
This just popped into my head. What is it that you particularly love about heel hooks?
I don't know. Just for whatever reason, I'm good at it and kind of had an easy time catching them. It could be my body type, having longer legs, which allows me to kind of keep the other person farther away while still keeping control of their leg.
That makes sense. You caught me with a lot of heel hooks.
And, I also, even in the gi, before I knew any better, I was doing leg locks and heel hooks pretty early on as a white belt. And now as techniques go, those are a lot more popular and prevalent. But I think maybe I just had a little more success because I've been working them a lot longer than other local or non-professional people around.
Okay. Would you consider that a sneaky move?
Depends how you set it up. Everybody knows about heel hooks now, but if you surprise them with it, it can definitely be sneaky.
I know you're a sneaky guy.
Yep. I like wrist locks too, in case you didn't know.
Oh, I definitely knew you like wrist locks. My wrists have been sore for days after rolls with you.
Good.
How important is grip strength when it comes to judo and jiu-jitsu?
Extremely important, especially in the gi.
I think that's one thing that some people kind of overlook when it comes to that sort of training is like, you just need to get you a big bucket of sand and start working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that got me into the maces and steel clubs, because you got to have a lot of grip strength for those.
Yeah.
I just saw recently there was a grip strength competition that had like multiple, I think there was 22 different categories or something like that. And this person that had never competed in it just happened to be a rock climber.
Oh.
And so he's up there with all of the strongmen of the world that actually do strongman competitions. And I think they gave him an award for most pound for pound best grip, because his grip is so insane for climbing rocks that
it wasn't that Alex dude that climbed Yosemite, like that sheer face wall or whatever.
It might have been.
I know that he's that kind of dude where he just sees something, he's like, fuck it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. They were trying to explain to him the events before, like, you're like, okay, you have to do this and this and this. But
that seems like some shit Kevin would do.
Grip strength is amazingly important when it comes to like you're saying, throwing, locking people up and holds, that sort of thing.
Because especially in judo, you have to hold onto their gi and pull their whole body through that.
Yeah.
So, if that's the weak connection, you're not going to really get anything done.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Good guy, if you want to see like grip strength exercises on Instagram is, I think his name on there is Raspberry Ape.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that guy.
He's also a jiu-jitsu guy. I think his real name is Dan Strauss. But he's super strong. He's got a lot of really cool videos you can see.
Is he the one who does, like, has different things that he holds on to while he does pull-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy is insane. Have you seen him? Yeah, like that stuff is, man, his hands have to just be like vice grips.
Yeah, some guys you can just feel if they have a good grip when you grab their wrist, like it's just thicker than it should be. Those guys are scary.
That's what she said. No, yeah, so grip strength's important. What about nutrition? That's pretty important too whenever it comes to that sort of thing.
Definitely now that I'm getting older, I try to do better at that. With judo especially, it's kind of hard. You know, you got to have enough energy for the practice, but if you eat too soon with all the rolling and throwing, I can get nauseous.
Yeah.
So that's something I'd have to really dial in lately.
Oh, especially, getting thrown across that mat on a full stomach.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
You've also been involved in martial arts for consistently for quite some time. So have you seen like trends come and go where like people have like, because they watch the UFC or because they listen to a podcast or because they have seen a more popular person do something, they'll come into the gym or they'll come in looking for that sort of thing? Or like, have you seen trends come and go when it comes to like jiu-jitsu and judo and that sort of thing?
Yeah, especially in jiu-jitsu because that's so popular, especially because of the UFC. And definitely now the trend is more no-gi. Like a lot of people want to do that more.
Some 10th Planet shit.
Yeah, sometimes 10th Planet, but also all the big events like ADCC, Who's Number One, all those promotions, they're all no-gi. So a lot of people are more interested in that than gi lately.
Yeah, I've heard and seen that as well. A lot of Eddie Bravo enthusiasts coming for Mission Control and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there was a lot of 10th Planet influence for a while, but as far as the big competitions go, like ADCC, none of those guys have been that successful. Of course, there are some, but I think 10th Planet just has more promotional value that they capitalized on early. And it seems like lately it's fallen off a lot, especially compared to B Team and New Wave, which is Gordon Ryan's gym.
Oh, okay. Gordon Ryan.
Speaking of amazing jiu-jitsu players,
Yeah. Gordon
Gordon Ryan is a character and a half.
A fantastic personality, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like his hair.
He's got cool hair.
Got cool hair. He's a cool follow. I guess it was like maybe a year or two ago whenever he got injured and got super big and then got super ripped right afterwards. And he is constantly in competition and he's constantly giving his critiques on what he thinks is right and wrong in jiu-jitsu. So if you're not familiar with him, give him a little follow and check out some of his highlights. That dude is a master when it comes to jiu-jitsu and combat sports in general. Do you think he's going to make his way over to the UFC?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so
he'll
either.
stick with BJJ.
Yeah.
But I think for a while he did have some kind of deal for going to MMA, but for whatever reason he didn't go through with it. Which I wouldn't want to do it either.
Yeah. Getting hit in the face is not a cool thing.
Man, it's the worst.
That's why I've stuck with grappling the whole time. I don't know anything about striking and don't really want to.
Yeah. Like I said in one of the early episodes, I took a Muay Thai class and I left it just being like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get punched. I don't want to get kicked. I just want to roll around and cuddle.
Yeah.
Yeah, those leg kicks do not look fun.
No, and here in last week, our guest last week, Mr. James Gray, he was telling us about how he took some really gnarly leg kicks in one of his fights and how bad it hurt. And I went back and I watched this video you sent me about the like top 10 fights at UFC that'll make you a fight like fan. And I was watching that first fight on the video, Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. And the way McGregor was just attacking Nate Diaz's leg.
Yeah.
And I could just see his leg swelling throughout the match. And all I could think about was Mr. James Gray talking about that. And I was like, oh, that has to be so painful. And that is also why I am not a fan of striking.
Smart.
Yeah, that first fight on that video compilation, that's actually the second time they met up. And that was Conor McGregor revenge because he was not supposed to lose that first fight in the eyes of the media and fans and whatnot. But yeah, that plan was to just completely smash that leg and take away his lead leg so that way he'd have little to no power when it comes to throwing those punches. I don't like that. I don't like seeing that. The other one that I don't like is like that kind of like that oblique kick where they're trying to dislocate your knee and that sort of thing. I mean, just like, ugh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Leg kicks, no fun. Striking in the face, no fun. Just stick to grappling.
That's our big takeaway here today.
Yep, I agree.
Cuddle with your bros.
And then come float afterwards and think about it.
Renee, you know more about UFC than me. Are there any rules on leg kicks?
No.
I thought there was something about not kicking directly on their knee.
No.
Okay.
The only rule when it comes to kicking is a grounded opponent, and that is also different whenever it comes to jurisdiction. I think in New Jersey you're allowed to kick a grounded opponent if they have...
Wow.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of states that the kicking a grounded opponent changes, but for the most part, they're... Joe Rogan usually talks about how you can end somebody's career with that, but that it's kind of like unspoken, but it's not against the rules. And I think lately John Jones is the biggest perpetrator of that violence. That's his favorite thing, to come out and try to basically take your knee out and dislocate it and not allow you to move forward. But no rules there. Yeah, no eye pokes, no growing strikes, no kicking to a grounded opponent, but other than that,
I think on the ground, no 12 to 6 elbows.
Yeah, that's true. No grabbing the fence.
Yeah,
but they get away with all that stuff all the time anyway. So,
yeah, no, cool. Well, how long have we been going for? We're creeping up on the hour
15,
20.
hour 20.
So yeah, let's
wrap it up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up with our last little things. We want to plug the phone number again.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate you opening up your space to us and opening up your life to us. Like I said, we can have you back anytime. You're a cool guy that knows a lot about cool stuff, and we're always looking for that sort of content for this podcast. If you have any sort of comment, or if you want to call us, it's 682-294-0101. We're on all of the social medias. If you have Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, if you're old, that's a running joke. If you have any of those sort of things, give us a follow and find us everywhere you find podcasts, and give us a little like and subscribe and share and tell your friends about us and all that good stuff.
And while you're doing all that, make sure to go check out Fort Worth Float Company at fortworthfloatcompany.com. And you're on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you, Taco Bell. Kind of.
I'm not going to thank Taco Bell.
Well,
we don't owe them anything.
They provided a Baja Blast this morning.
Blast.
So thank you, Taco Bell. Thank you, Parker. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Calvin, for letting us borrow your dad for a bit. And thank you, wives and kids, for allowing us to do the podcast for a bit. We appreciate everybody for listening, and we hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for having me. Can't wait to be back every time.